All right, Entree Architect community, it's 4 p.m. Eastern, which means it's time for the Entree Architect Context and Clarity live conversation for Thursday, May 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. As you get here, say hi, let us know that you're here, and let us know where you're joining the conversation from. If we've never met before, my name's Jeff. I'm in Indianapolis, and I come here every weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern for one reason, so that we can find clarity around the things that matter most to you, the architect. Doesn't matter if you're the employee of a firm or you own your own firm. Maybe you've circled a date on the calendar and you said 2022 is my year and you're on the runway to starting your own thing. Or maybe you have owned your own firm for a year or 10 years or 28 years and you're starting to rethink or reimagine what that firm could or maybe even should be. All of the topics that we cover, one topic every day, they all fall under the broad umbrella of the business of architecture, and they're all the need to know topics for the success of small firm architects just like you. So thanks for joining us today. As usual, on these Context and Clarity live days, I'm joined by my co-host, Katharine MacPhail. Hi, Katharine.
Hey, Jeff.
Still just outside of Boston, I see.
For now, yep. And I'll be here for a couple months, but I got a new painting.
Nice. All
I
right.
know, I'm pretty excited about
We
that
have
one.
new decor. We have new decor.
Yeah. I feel very messy compared to you. So in my new place, I am gonna tone it down. Tone the
Well,
John Stone thing down.
when you're an AI, you know, it's
Yeah, I
got to
know.
be
You do have an
totally,
advantage since you are an AI, but
yeah.
you know.
So there's that. That's right. I am not real, everyone. Uh, well, it's great to have you back with me again today, and
Be here.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I'm always looking forward. I love this. I love
Yeah.
Context and Clarity Live. I'm always looking forward to our conversations with our guests.
Mm-hmm.
Um, As I look in the comments right now, it looks to me like Scott Thrift. I'm not sure what's going on there with the graphic, but Scott Thrift looks to be the first into the room today. He says it's a cloudy day on the bay. Well, welcome, Scott. You're the first on my screen, which means you're the winner of today's John Kinney Memorial Crocheted Bathtub Award. So, congratulations. Glad you're with us
Exciting.
today. It is exciting. Anytime you can win a crocheted bathtub, that is an exciting time. Christian's joining us from Ithaca, New York. Melanie is joining us from Charlotte. Hi, Melanie. Jing from Houston. Hi, Jing. They're all on Facebook. Sarah Lee is joining us today from LinkedIn. Hello, hola. Let's see. Ryan Shoup is joining us from New Jersey. Um, he says, I haven't eaten my 5 jars of mayonnaise yet today.
Yeah, what does that mean? I haven't been on every
I'm
minute this week,
afraid.
so I'm wondering.
Yeah, I'm afraid of what that means, honestly. I'm not sure, but that sounds like a trip to the hospital, is what that sounds like. Janine's joining us from Arizona. Diego's over on YouTube. He's joining us from Nicaragua today. Rod, welcome back. He says he's here just in time for the NFT collapse. Okay,
Is that
well,
coming? I didn't hear about that
I,
either. I feel very out of
I
it.
don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. And Mark LePage, welcome back from North Carolina. Glad you're joining us today as well. Oh, Ryan says Cinco de Mayo,
I see.
5 jars of mayonnaise. There you go.
Uh,
I get it. Sorry, I'm a little
that's
slow on the uptake there.
okay.
If you are joining us, especially from Facebook, if you're commenting and your comments are not showing up on the screen, like Sarah Lee's just popped up. She says, ha ha ha. She's over on Facebook. John Jones is right below us, or right below Sarah Lee. If you are commenting from Facebook and your comments aren't showing up on the screen, it probably means that you have not given Facebook permission um, to speak to connect with Restream, which is this platform that we use. You're joining from a private group in Facebook. There's privacy um, procedures, privacy rules in place. So you have to give Facebook permission to talk to Restream. The way that you can do that's super easy. There's a URL down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen right now. It's chat.restream.io/FB, like Facebook. If you take that URL, put it up into your browser, and a couple of clicks later, you'll give permission to Facebook and Restream to connect, and then your comments will start showing up, just like Sarah Lee's and John's and Christian's as well. And so again, if you're on Facebook and that's not working out for you, that's probably the issue. So go to chat.restream.io/FB, as in Facebook, and that'll solve all of your problems, every single one of them, mayonnaise and all. Luciano, welcome back. Glad you're joining us from YouTube today. And let's see, there's some complaints about how quickly people are able to get into the chat. Everybody's competing for this crocheted
Yeah.
bathtub.
I have a question because it seemed like when we
Go ahead.
came on, I need to know the answer to this. When we came on, there were already comments. There already were comments.
Hmm.
Can they see us while we're waiting for the countdown?
They
Because I know
cannot
that
see us.
well, sometimes during the daily there's a lag when you're kind of like bopping to the music, but we can see you.
Right, right.
But you don't think we can see you yet.
No, I know you can see me.
You just are doing that on purpose?
I'm just entertaining you
You're
because
just
there's a lag.
programmed to start about 30 seconds after? Okay.
Well, it's different because in the weekday we're going through Zoom and
Right.
Facebook Live, and during the Context and Clarity Live, we have the 60-second countdown. Mark says we can
Yeah.
see the
Oh, that's
countdown, but
good.
you can't
They
see
can't see
us.
what we're doing during the 60-second countdown. That's my
Correct.
main concern. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
So for the 60 seconds that the video is playing,
Mhm.
people are joining and
I got it.
starting to comment. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay. But they can't see
So don't
us.
worry. They don't know what you were doing.
That's good. Whew.
Which, that might be a good thing. I don't know.
It's a good thing.
All right. Okay. Well, let's see. With that, welcome everybody. Glad that you're here. Looks like more and more people are coming in, which is fantastic. Great to have all of you here. And again, welcome to the Entree Architect Context and Clarity live conversation. As you get here, say hi. Even if you're just listening in or you're multitasking right now, at least say hi from wherever you are. It's great to see. We do have a worldwide audience. It's fun to see. Hey, Audrey's in Australia, and Diego is in Nicaragua, and Scott's in San Francisco, and just all over the world. So at least say hi and let us know that you're here and where here is for you. Where in the world are you? And if that's all you can do, that's fine. That's fine. Welcome to the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest for the day. It's going to be a great conversation today. We've been looking forward to this. We've had a great week of conversations around the theme today. And if you're not familiar with Context and Clarity, what happens is on Thursdays, we have these Context and Clarity Live where we have a special guest, and I'll introduce our guest here in a moment. That sets our theme for the week. And then every day in our Context and Clarity conversations, we take maybe a piece of that theme. We have a different topic every day that relates to that theme. So we've been talking about these issues all week, and it's been a great week of conversations. I'm really looking forward to wrapping this up with our guest today in this conversation. So to make that introduction I've been promising. Our guest today is an immigrant, an advocate, a woman, a mother, and an architect. She's the founder and CEO of Glow Architects and the author of the soon to be released The Architecture of Motherhood. Gloria Kloter, welcome to Context and Clarity Live.
Hi.
Hello,
Hi,
welcome.
everyone. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being here. And also, I forgot to mention that every morning we're on Clubhouse as well. And Gloria, I think for the past 2 mornings, definitely this morning, but Gloria has joined the conversation. We had a great conversation with Gloria this morning. So thanks for coming back to continue the conversation today.
Yeah, I was very pleased with the questions and seeing people are so engaged in the conversation. That's very nice.
I think that's when we learned this new format that we have, and that's how Context and Clarity has evolved. We just learn what works and what the community wants, and what helps the community and things like that. And when we um, evolved into this format of all week being about this theme, I think that's really been fantastic because we can really, the name is Context and Clarity, and the purpose is to dig into these things. It gives us a week to dig into these topics, and then it all culminates with this conversation where we can hear, from you and your experience, and from your expertise. And so I think probably the place to start the conversation today. I mentioned the soon to be released book, so you need to tell us about when it's coming out and all of that. But maybe the starting point is, why did you write The Architecture of Motherhood?
Whew, that's a good question. Um, why did I write it? So, the book, let me take a step back on that. The book really has a lot of my story. It's the only way. It is very personal, and I share a lot of really private situations and very personal stuff I went through in my journey. And sometimes we can feel that our story is maybe not interesting or worth to tell. It's like when you think about, if you think about it that way of, why will anybody will want to read about what I went through, my story, like who I am, like who knows me. I'm not, I don't know, J-Lo or something like that, people like this famous person, right? But what I've learned is that when I was going through the process, as I mentioned this morning with, I believe it was Melanie, her name, right? um,
Yes.
those doubts about, I am very ambitious about my career, but I really want to become a mother. Like, is this the right time? And what will this mean to me in my career if I make that step? I got to talk to people, as I mentioned this morning, that were encouraging and people that were not. And if I wouldn't have talked with those who were encouraging, I don't know if I would have had the courage to actually start on it. And now that I've gone through my process and I've learned and discovered so many tools and things that can really help to find that balance between career and motherhood. I keep telling myself, like, oh my gosh, just the same as the process with immigrants and the whole process of getting your license here as an immigrant. It's like, I just wish I would have known a Gloria, 5 years ago, that will have give me this message of reassurance that this can be done, because I had so much fear, because I was people around me without any intentions of doing any harm actually increase that fear, if that makes sense. And I felt that it was kind of my duty to say, hey, if anybody else in the United States, around the world, feels this way, this is something you should read and know. And knowledge is power. You can do whatever you want with that knowledge, with this information, but at least it's in your hands, and then you can move forward from there. I think one thing that I learned after, because as I explained this morning, I wrote the book before I actually contacted the publisher and got in contact with them. But one of the things they clarified when they were taking a look at the draft was, it's not just about sharing a story. It's what are people going to get out of that story? Is there a learning process? Is there this golden nuggets that they can take on? Sometimes you can read an entire book, and most of the book might not necessarily apply to your situation, but if there's one single scene that you can take out of that book, then it was worth it. And I feel that's my hope with the book. That's the reason why I wrote it, because I feel that what I went through, if I would have known what I know now, I might have started my family way sooner. That's what I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Why?
Because the fears that I had, it wasn't necessarily, it didn't really have, it was
Was
all in my head,
Yeah.
and there was so many things I just didn't know that was feeding that fear.
Mm,
That if I would have known better, or if I would have been around people that would have been more encouraging and more maybe open to how things really are, maybe I will have made different decisions.
yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know. But I just feel that if I can share this information, at least people again can take the information and do something about it. Either still wait or not, but at least the information will be there.
Mm.
Mhm.
Um, do you mind if because I was just wondering, like, who is your ideal reader of the book, or who did you write it for? I would imagine you wrote it for women because that's your message, really. But then Christian wants to know if men should read your book.
Yeah, he actually asked that question, and I believe in the Foreign Architects group because it's part of it. Hi, Christian. Nice to see you here. I think the main audience that I wrote it for, my voice is talking to women. It's talking to women who are either thinking of becoming a mother or are mothers and are feeling like, having the struggle between career and motherhood, or people that might be feeling, maybe this is something I can just see what she's saying and criticize it. I don't know. But it was really mainly for women. With that being said, I talk so much about sins that to me apply to anybody, men or women. I talk about sins that I've done with my business when I started it. There's many sins that I talk that may not necessarily be only for mothers, but just parenthood in general. I talk about the communication, the support group. I talk about, you know, s- I cover a lot of basic stuff that we kind of need when we are dealing between, parenthood and our careers. So I don't think it's bad if a man reads it. I don't think they will waste their time by doing it. I think there's some value, especially if the man, like Christian is asking, is someone who is a foreign architect. I share part of that journey of coming to the United States and getting the license. So there's some topics that I feel that if you're a man, you can still read it. Just know that my voice is talking to other women, and if you can pass that, then there's so many things you can take out of the book that are still valuable to anybody. Mhm.
So when you mentioned when you came here, you were an architect and you came here from the Dominican Republic, right?
Mhm.
So when you came from the Dominican Republic to the United States as an architect, did you work for a firm? What was your first professional step when you got here?
When I came initially, I came with a tourist visa because I just married my
Okay.
husband, and that was a visa that I had. So we started the process after we got married. I didn't have the right to work. I had the right to be here and be a tourist and just have fun, but not working. And we really struggle in that part financially because I didn't realize how long the process was going to be to transfer that tourist visa to be a residency visa. It actually took about, oh my gosh, it wasn't. I came in January, and it took August was when I got the residency. So all those
Okay.
months, I made no money. We live out of savings that we have because my husband also, he was a Marine. That's how we met. We met overseas because he was a Marine, and he started over. So for both of us, it was like starting over. We came together after we got married. He got out of the Marines, right? 10 days, 15 days before the wedding was his last day as a Marine. He got out,
Wow.
we got married, and we came together to the States. And we both start from zero. It was a crazy experience because then I thought, oh, I'm just gonna, just do the paperwork and I'm gonna keep my business here, and then that wasn't the reality. I couldn't call myself an architect. I couldn't start a practice without having somebody that was the architect of record, and I realized that my experience was not necessarily enough to practice here on my own. um, Under someone else with, supervising what I was doing, yes, but not on my own. I didn't understand that at the time. I was actually feeling insulted. My ego was pretty hurt in the
Mhm.
process. I'm an architect and I've been working since 2004 and I can practice here. But I've said this before in other podcasts and platforms I've been at. I'm actually thankful they force you to go through the exams here because I will have been in a lot of trouble if I will have just straight, start practicing straight away because there's so much that is different, and the differences are humongous in this. It's just so different from what I was used to in the Dominican Republic. So to really answer your question, which I don't know, I kind of went downhill with the whole story. But to really answer your question, when I was able to work, I got my very, very first job was actually with a home builder that was in the
Okay.
community we were living. They were looking for somebody to help with drafting. And I was absolutely desperate to start making some money.
Hmm.
And this is one of the things when you were asking about that comment of that other CSI about the immigrant students. The
Right.
conversation
Right.
I wasn't
Right.
sorry, I might
Oh, the
not.
SCIARC, the
SciArc.
SCIARC
Yep.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
With that question about the immigrant students and all that, I'm not gonna get into that. But what I'm saying is, I feel that some of those situations, people were taking advantage of me because I didn't know any better. I didn't understand what was right or wrong, of payment and amount of hours of work and all that kind of stuff. And I feel that this is something that a lot of immigrants go through, especially at the very beginning. We're so new, so fresh. We're so afraid of doing something that is wrong. We're going through an immigrant paperwork process. We don't want to do anything that can hurt that process. And
Right.
we tend to, not everybody, but we tend to not ask many questions because we just don't want any trouble. We just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And that was kind of my situation. There was a point in that process that I realized they didn't have, the architect of record was not in the office. And when I realized I needed to report hours of experience under him because I have all the experience from DR, but you know how it is that they only let you report that up to 50% of the total. You need those 3,750 hours that you need for EXP. So I needed to be under a licensed architect in the States to complete that other half. And I tried to talk to the architect of record, which again was in a different office, but he was just being difficult because he was not in the office with me and he didn't feel comfortable with the whole scene. And I said, well, I this is my answer. I need to find and then I started understanding that the builder here is not necessarily an architectural firm. I felt it was hurting my goals and my career, so I switched and I got a job in 2016 um, in an architectural firm, and it was the firm I stayed until I opened my business. I stayed within about 4 years. They were really good to me. I learned a lot from them, and the people from that company became almost my family. Like they are the ones
Mm.
who comes to Nova's birthdays and that type of things. Like we are very close. So
That's great. Was it always so you were an architect when you were in the Dominican Republic, and as you described, I mean, it's all of a sudden you come to the United States and you can't call yourself that anymore, for all the reasons you just described. Was it always your intent to start your own firm um, when you came to the United States?
yeah, my original plan when me and my husband decided to, like, when he proposed, we start thinking, okay, where are we gonna live? Because he was overseas. We met when he was serving in Haiti next to the Dominican Republic, but then he was stationed in Africa, and we start talking about we got to consider him moving to the Dominican Republic, but this was the problem. Still to the date, Lord, have mercy. Jeremy just does not speak Spanish. I've tried to teach that man. He will not learn Spanish. It's not gonna work. Our daughter will speak both languages. He's just not. No, I'm like, she's gonna talk behind your back in Spanish, and you will know what she's saying. But that was the main reason why we said we just need to move to the States, because he tried to take a couple of classes and it didn't work. And I already knew English. It wasn't perfect. It's still not perfect, but it was enough for us to move. So we made the decision of just moving here. With that being said, um, my plan at that moment was, well, I already have a business. I'm already a licensed architect. We're just gonna move, and while you figured out this new career, because in our head, it was gonna be easier for me because I already had a career, I already have a license, I already had a business. I'm just moving countries, but with his support and all that, I can be the one making the money while he's starting a new career in real estate. That was the plan. But that's not what happened. We were both struggling because it was almost new for both of us, really. So yes, I always wanted to start my business, but then I couldn't. I came 2015, and I opened my business Glow Architects in 2020 after Nova was born.
Okay. Yeah, I
Mhm.
was wondering because one of the things that we've talked about this week, there's I think most of us understand the reality that a lot of people disappear from the profession, especially a lot of women disappear from the profession because of motherhood, because of
Mhm.
parenthood. And, back to Melanie's question from Clubhouse this morning, um, I wonder, I think about Rosa Sheng, who we had as a guest a year ago now, I guess, on Context and Clarity. The first time I met Rosa, she had just started the Missing 32%, which has now evolved into Equity by Design. And the 32% was the percentage of women that disappeared from the profession. And we see in our community, in the Entre Architect community, and beyond, certainly, a lot of people, women certainly, but also men, starting their own firms, doing their own things, so to speak, because of the parenthood factor, right? I'm a parent, I'm an architect. It's hard to be in a firm and do all of these things. Understanding that wasn't your goal, right? Your goal wasn't to go work for, say, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to pick on any big firm, but your goal wasn't to go work for Gensler and hey, that didn't work out because you were starting a family. But when when we have this dynamic in the profession where it's definitely very hard, it's not impossible, but with it being so hard to be an architect and a parent, be an architect and a mother, what do you think needs to happen in the profession in order to uh, make I don't even know the right way to say it, make the profession more hospitable to parents and families? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but
Mhm.
what do you see for women, for people, somebody like Melanie that asked that question this morning?
Mhm.
What do you think needs to happen in the profession to I'm going to say fix this?
Mhm. Mhm. I think for forever, our profession is very demanding.
Hmm.
And we talk about it this morning. It's not just if you're a parent or not. You can be, a single person with no kids, and your only focus could be just architecture, and it's still so hard. It's so
Yeah,
demanding. And if we let it, it can really consume all of our time, right? And
hmm,
especially if we're very passionate about some specific projects we might be working on. It might not be all the time, but there's certain things that
sure.
might drag us to be just, like so extremely devoted, which there's nothing wrong with it. But I think taking that on the side, one of the things that I realized is what has, in my opinion, personal opinion, what has affected the most in this process to women, mothers in the profession. A lot of women that I know have, and again, that was the type of conversation that really got me full of fear, was because they had to step out of the career for years until their her children were into a certain age, enough
Hmm.
for them to then come back in full. Some of them step out of the career entirely. Some of them step out of the career partially. And the problem they faced coming back was that they felt afterwards they were kind of behind on scenes. They were not current with the programs and whatever what's going on, and they struggled to get there. Not that they didn't. I'm just saying it was just a process of kind of adapting to whatever was going on in that moment versus when they stopped. And all those conversations really, really scare me. But what I think from my perspective is, if this is the reason why, like, what is the reason that those women, that those mothers have had to stop? Where is that demanding from us, that burden that we have, that for us to function in this one scene, then we have to give up this other scene? And I think it's the lack of flexibility. And I completely hate it this whole process with COVID, whole pandemic, and everything that happened, we can talk 10 hours about all my hate on how things were the last 2 years. Especially because I delivered this baby in the middle of it, and it was a pretty traumatic experience for me. But with that being said, so the one thing I can tell that is positive in a way from that experience is that we prove to companies that we can work remotely and be as efficient as if we are in on site in person. It doesn't, my point is, we didn't have that before. It was hard to prove to employees, and yeah, employers that we can make this work. It doesn't have to be that I'm 8 to 5 in the office to work on your project and still deliver on the deadline. I think now we can have that conversation a little bit more open because of these 2 years, right? And I think people are starting to be more um, open to discuss those possibilities. When I decided to start Glow Architects was because I said, okay, I was working until the very last date of my, I was 40 weeks one date, and that's when pretty much almost I started working. And I had to do it remotely because we were all, in lockdowns and all that kind of stuff. And when Nova was born, and maternity leave was about to stop, and I was still in the process of like, is this the time for me to start a company? I just had a baby. This is something I always wanted. But financial stability can be put at risk if I made the change now. We didn't know what was going to happen with economy because of COVID, because elections were coming, all that kind of stuff. And you have a baby now. It's not just about you and your husband. There's a baby in the story. So I didn't know if that was, I knew I wanted it, but it was that the right time. But when I had the conversation, they said, no, we need you to come back full time in person because they lost a couple of the staff and some other things that happened. And my main supervisor really wanted to take this 2 week vacation. So he needed me to come and be in person those 2 weeks so he could be out, which I understand. But I didn't get Nova in a daycare because everything was closed. So I didn't have an option. I think what was the situation for me at the time, forced me to make a decision of what was best for me and my family. But that was my situation. Again, yes, I always wanted to have my company, but I was cautious on when to do it. When was I ready? When my family was ready? And then there was a point where life said, well, Gloria, you either do it or you do it because, what are you going to do now? And my husband said, like we were talking behind stage, is like, what is the worst that can happen? And I said, the worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. I don't get enough clients. I don't make enough money. And then I have to go back and get a job. Um, so if I can handle that, then let's try it. Because if my worst scenario is something I can handle, then I can at least try. So that's kind of how it all worked out.
Yeah, that's a Catherine asked you that question when we were backstage, and that's a great question to ask. Um, in fact, I was going to ask you, Catherine, because I've started reading or listening to our May Context and Clarity Book Club book, which is sorry I'm
Very.
late. I didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's very. You're really on top of it. I haven't even bought the book yet.
Well, I just started it,
Okay.
but what you said, what's the worst thing that can happen? It actually shows up. It shows up in the book where
Does it?
Jessica Pan is, this. You'll understand
I'll
when you
read
get
it.
there, but she's an introvert. She's really struggling, and she's trying to figure out. She's talking to different experts. Okay, well, how do I get over this? How do I do this? And one of the processes is basically what's the worst thing that could happen.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know if you know this or not, Gloria, but there are a number of people in our community I don't know the number off the top of my head, but Katharine and I were actually talking about this the other day. It's at least 6, I think, at least half a dozen that have started their own firms since COVID, um, for similar reasons. Right? It's family, it's kids, it's everything that we all know that we went through, we experienced through the process. And I'm with you. I hope that what we've learned over the past 2 years or so, 2.5 years or so, really changes the way that we think about the way that architecture is practiced. Because, um, we see, and I've got an example that I've mentioned every once in a while of a firm that I know of that has collapsed because I think what they say is that they were maybe unable to continue or unable to adapt. I think the truthful version of that is they were unwilling to adapt, and that has essentially crushed them through.
I just had a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine who's a mother, one of the people who actually read the book, the draft before I sent it the final manuscript to the publisher. And she was telling me, because her husband is an architect, pretty good guy, very talented here in town. And we were just talking about some of the struggles that he has faced with hiring people, because I was talking about that I'm thinking of hiring an extra person here and all that kind of stuff. And anyhow, long story short, what I'm trying to say is there was a situation with somebody that was extremely talented, but she was in a company that was giving her a higher salary, really nice benefits, but they were not flexible on the time. They were not flexible. They wanted her to be on the company 5 days, the 5 days in person, 8 to 5, just normal. And she said, if there's so much that has changed with the dynamic of how my family is right now after the whole pandemic scene and all that. She's like, I can't. And she ended up going through a process and went with a different company that she has to commute more, because the original company was really close to where she lived. She actually originally she moved her whole family from one city to another for this job, and then the lack of flexibility made her make a decision where she got another job where she has to commute about 45 minutes, which she was about 5 minutes from the other office, but they allowed her to only come in person about 2 days a week. The rest of the days she can do manage online, and she only have to come in for the specific meetings. It's not like she's gonna be there all day. It's just some team meetings that has to happen, and if she ever has to do it online, she can. And she took a pay cut from it. It was less money than what she was making in the other one, but she it was just better for her and her family. And it was interesting talking about that case because sometimes that's what companies and employers don't understand. That I think we all want to make money. Money is important, but I don't think at this point in life people are putting money before themselves or their families. It's just not what's happening, and we are all so conscious now about the importance of that health and mental health, and having just peace and being able to spend time with your loved ones. Is just, there's no price for that. So I think any company that want to retain employees will have to start thinking of how to facilitate those, not only for women and mothers, just for people, just human architects, like we were saying, was it yesterday?
Yeah.
Human architects in general. We need to be able to live. And motherhood and parenthood is part of that life that we have outside of work. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned human architect. That came up in our context and clarity conversation yesterday, as you said. And I think, one of the things I've been uncomfortable with all week, because I try to be very conscious of what we say, how we say things, and the idea of woman architect, right? As that's not the right way to say, because that becomes an other, and eventually, foreign architect and foreign student and woman architect and so on, and then it might have been Ryan that said human architect,
Mhm.
and I think that's exactly the point, right? It's we have all these different yes, you are a woman and an architect and a mother and an architect and an immigrant and all of these things. And I wonder, you were talking about flexibility a minute ago, and I wonder what has to happen. If I were to own a firm of, I'm just making things up, if I were to own a firm of 15 people and be looking for a new employee, I need a human architect, right? I need a human architect to hire. What does my approach need to be in order to really consider human architects, understanding that one of those humans might be a new mom, as a for
Mhm.
instance, or one of those might be someone that had just come from someone just Diego asked the question. Diego's down in Nicaragua. Maybe Diego has come to the United States, architect in Nicaragua, but not quote unquote legally architect in the United States.
Mhm.
As an employer, what do I need to keep in mind? What do I need to be thinking when I'm dealing with and thinking about and interviewing and all these things that go into it? What do I need to think about when I'm trying to relate to human architects?
Mhm.
I don't even know if that's a real question, but does that make sense?
Yeah, I will go over that part, but I want to start with the part because I know you mentioned it yesterday too about how you feel and trying to be very conscious and mindful when you're saying a woman architect or foreign architect or immigrant architect and all that. I think this opinion might not match everybody's opinion. It's my opinion on the matter, and it's how I feel about it. I don't see it as a bad thing. I am very proud of say that I am a woman architect, and my hope is that at some point we don't have to specify it. The reason why we created, I am the founder and current chair of the Women Architecture in Tampa Bay. Is because we keep saying we want to be able to disappear. We want to be able to not having to need to talk about us and what we're doing in making sure people understand that. As there was somebody in the chat either yesterday or the day before that was saying, I went to the site. I can't remember who it was, but she said the person was assuming that the guy was the architect, but she was the interior designer. Where there's
It's
nothing
Janine.
wrong
Yeah.
with it. I love interior design. It's one of my passions. My master's is actually divided between architecture and interior. So I love interior design, but I see what she felt. It was the assumption that the one that is the architect is the man, the one that is something else, whatever that is the woman. And that is the reason why we keep on this woman architect, is to make it normal that the
Okay.
world knows and see us as equal in intelligence and capabilities and as architects. So we want to get to the point, and I don't think we are so far. I think we're making really huge improvements, and hopefully in a couple of years from now, we will look back and say, oh my gosh, there has been so much progress in this matter, where we don't have to say I am a woman architect, and I will just say I'm an architect, and people will say, oh, that's great, and not think of like, oh, I thought that was a profession for men. It will change. We're working on it. So I don't take it as a bad thing. Again, I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud when I said I'm foreign architect too. I just feel proud of who I am, and that's who I am. I don't see anything wrong with anybody pointed it out. With the other part of the question of what to keep in mind, I think what anybody who is hiring anybody just needs to focus on understanding the experience and the talents, the skills that that person has. I think one of the things that I've learned from being an employee and now, a business owner, is that There's so many things that you can teach somebody. You can train them to learn the ways you like things to be done. But there's a lot of things on personality wise that can be taught, that it's very of how you um, get along with the person, that that kind of mindset of we just connect. And I think in that interviewing process, there's big part of that to me has a huge play on what to think about. Is this the right person for the culture of your company, and is your company culture right for that person? Because it's a two-way avenue. So I think
Right.
focusing more on that, on the talents, the skills, and the personality, and how that fits your company and how your company fits that person, so everybody's happy, because you want to hire somebody that's going to stick around for a long time as much as possible, right? You don't want to be every time having to retrain somebody and bring in more people because that really great talent left, as that example I was saying, because she wanted more flexibility. That's what we as business owners don't want. We don't want to lose good talent because we are not thinking about what's good for them, just what's good for us, if that makes sense. I don't know if that answers your question. Hopefully that.
Well, yeah, I think it does. I think it definitely does. We're hiring for the person, and um, we had a panel discussion several weeks ago, and we talked about that as well. It's right, hiring. It's kind of back to the idea of humans. We're hiring human beings, right? We're relating to humans on a human level. Um,
And maybe I did skip part of your the specifics of the question, because you wanted to know, if you're hiring a woman who might be a mother too, what are the things that you should keep in mind? I think that the main word here is flexibility. Is
mhm,
how can you make things work for your company and the needs that you have. If you display pretty clearly what are the needs that you have versus what this person can offer, and just find a way to make it work for the two of you. That's what I think. And
mhm.
so I think flexibility is the golden word here. Is how can we work. It's do untraditional things moving forward. Like I think that's kind of the best way I can describe it. I think things have changed, the industry is changing, so we have to adapt to that and make the best out of it.
Yeah, it's everything is changing. It's hard. It's hard for everybody to keep up with some things, but if you're coming, well, I mean, if we go back to Melanie that asked that great question this morning, or someone that's um, I'm sorry, Diego. I'm going to use you as an example because I see you in the comments on the screen, and it reminds me that you're outside the United States. So to use Diego again as an example, what if he were coming to the U.S.? What when we're when we were in these, again, a woman, an immigrant, someone coming in. What's your best advice? Because, like you said, there's a lot to learn. It's a
Mhm.
moving target for everybody, steeper learning curve, I'm sure, for some. What's your best advice for people trying to get a handle on what they need to do, and how what they need to consider and how they can succeed?
There's a couple of things to that as an answer to that question. I don't think there's one single advice. So I'm gonna go over a couple of things that I think might cover the basics. Um, One is, we talk about mentorship this morning.
Mhm.
When you come first, you might not know anybody to, make them your mentors. But when you start, networking and meeting people and getting involved with communities like these and others that are available out there, I think reaching out to people and asking questions and understanding what is the strengths of each person that so whenever you have questions about this or that, then you go to this person versus that person, is one of the things. The other thing is being very patient with yourself and just being honest. Whenever I had interviews and I was looking for jobs, initially, I always said, I remember when I was hired, by the employer I have at the end, I worked for them 4 years, and um, I I remember in the interview, one of the things that I said is like, I came, you know, I knew meters, not imperial, and I just I didn't know Revit. I only worked in AutoCAD since like 2002 until I came to the States. So I didn't know Revit really. I just kind of knew a little bit of it, and that was their main program. And I said, I'm a hard worker and I want this job, and I really believe in your culture and the type of projects you're doing is the type of projects I want to be working on. And I have a lot to learn. I don't understand codes. I don't understand about this. I don't understand about that, but I want to learn. And Revit wise, I'm a fast learner. Give me 2 weeks, I'll get it done. And if in 2 weeks I'm still messing things up, then we can have another conversation. They gave me the chance. I actually learned it in about a week because I was going home and just staying really late, just learning the program and doing things on my own to learn it. But you kind of have to put the effort. But I think being honest, so they have clear expectations of where you are and what you're willing to do to make this work, because you are in a process of transition. You're learning, you're constantly I think now I get to think in English more often than before, but initially that was not the case. I was speaking with you, I will be speaking with you while in my head I was constantly translating, because I was
Mhm.
thinking in Spanish and then translate, and then the words coming out of my mouth were in English, but that didn't mean that I was thinking initially in English. And that's a hard process. It's studying for the exams was the same thing. I remember I was in a meeting one time when someone was giving us some CU or something, and there was about two other people that were English was their second language like me, and everybody else were English speakers, and they gave us a little pamphlet or something, and all the English speakers first English as first language, sorry, flip the first page at the same time. And I remember I look around and the other two people look at me and I said, "Where are you in the page?" And one person that was next to me said, "I'm about halfway." And I said, "I'm about halfway too." And that really gave me a sense of even reading for us. We go way slower, which is one of the biggest struggles I had with the exams, with the AREs taking it, because it's time, you have the time, but you're reading in a pace that is not the pace of someone that English is their first language. And nobody understands that. So I think being patient with yourself and understanding that you're going through a process and you're going to get there. If it's someone like me, I'm from the Dominican Republic, this little island girl who was born and raised with a very, very limited, with very limited resources family. I'm here talking to you in this amazing podcast. Anybody can do it. This is my life as a testimony that anybody can do anything, because you just need to put effort towards it. I think the last advice I will give is, you know, um, make clear expectations of what you want for yourself and your own definition of success. My definition of success might not look like yours. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's like, what is success to you? Is it success that you will start a company and it will be a small studio where you have 5 employees, or you will be a solo person and you have enough projects that you can handle yourself, make enough money to pay your bills? Or is it that you want to do the next Gensler company on, whatever, and make a really big company that you have hundreds of employees under you? And that's your dream and that's your definition of success. Is your definition of success that you're going to be solely dedicated to this career and you're going to be the next Zaha Hadid or whatever it is, really famous architect? I don't know. Or one of the things I always said, is it success to you having one children or having six, and you want to have a really big family, and that's what really fulfills you. So I think um, defining that success to you is what really matters. I think that will give you perspective, and you can focus on that is your goal, not anybody else's goal. It's your goal, and that's what you want. So go for it.
Yeah, that's good life advice.
Christian wants to know if you dream in English. I assume Christian does dream in English, but do you? I never thought about what language Christian dreams in,
No,
actually.
I actually dream in Spanish now that I think about it. I do dream in Spanish. Yeah. That's a good question, Christian. I don't think I ever thought about it, but I dream in
But
Spanish.
if you dream about your husband, do you dream that he's speaking Spanish to you,
No,
or is he speaking English? See,
that's
right?
a
Because
good
I
point.
imagine,
If
yeah.
he's in the picture, then the whole dream is in English. Yes.
That's
Yes.
funny.
We're going to have him on the podcast and talk about this whole learning Spanish
Yes. Yes.
struggle. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
put him on the
Uh,
spot.
Yeah, exactly. Christian, we need you to answer the question. Are you dreaming in English or Spanish? He says he still counts and spells much faster in Spanish. So,
Yeah, I think it's just so it's such a challenge for everybody, for sure, that
mhm.
translation scene. But I think the more one of the things that has helped me the most, to me, in a way, and my English is definitely not perfect. You can still feel my accent is pretty strong, and sometimes I mispronounce things and all that. Whenever I've given keynotes, presentations, I'm always so nervous because sometimes I'm like trying to go so fast and I messed up my words and whatever. But I think being around people that only speak in English initially, when I came to the States, because we live in with Jeremy's family for a couple of months, and then we had our own place, and then we bought the house where we live now. But initially, everybody around me were only English speakers, so I was, and then this is the best part. Even in the DR, whenever I would watch a movie that was in English, it had subtitles. Well, guess what? That's not available in the TV here. So if you have subtitles are in English, that was what I had in at home. So it really forced me. It really forced me to improve my listening, in my speaking, because everybody around me were just English speakers, and the TV was all in English, and everything was in English. So it really helped me. And now, I have many people around me that do speak Spanish, and it's fine. But I'm just saying, I think God put me in that situation for a couple of months to say, hey, let's just, shape you a little bit, get you refined on that English, so you do better in, as you go, and you feel like more confident. Because I think that has been great in a way. I think it has given me confidence, just feeling that I can communicate and people would at least understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, if it makes you feel any better, there are a lot of English speakers, native English speakers, first language, um, that get nervous when they speak in public and start speaking very quickly and messing up as well. So,
Hmm.
um, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't. That's
I've
go ahead.
noticed, because I used to teach in the DR, in a design school. I
Hmm.
teach since 2008 until I came, actually, and I was teaching architectural drafting, design, and all that. And I feel that I was so good at it. Like, I just, being in front of a crowd and just talking and teaching and all that. And I don't think I was necessarily nervous, because most of the time I was prepared for the topic, and I knew what I was going to
Sure.
talk about. I was prepared. But I felt, every time I presented in the States in English, some of those keynote presentations, I felt a physical reaction. Like, my hands will shake, and I feel like this heat just going up, and it's like it only goes away after I have like 5 minutes talking. Like, I'm just like, oh, I
Oh,
just
sure.
get
Yeah.
into it, and then
Yeah.
just keep going. But I am definitely always super nervous at the beginning now, because I'm just, you tend to be just hard on yourself. I think we are usually
Yeah.
our biggest critics. So
Very
yeah.
true. Very true. Well, uh, Gloria, thank you for this conversation. It's given us a lot to think about and a lot to understand, and really, I think in a lot of ways it's a very eye opening conversation. So, thank you for joining us today. I'm looking forward to the book coming out. So what the pre order is available on the 13th. Is that correct?
Yes, people will be able to pre-order the book on Friday, May 13, which is next Friday, not tomorrow, but the Friday after. And that's a pre-order, but the main book launch is in June 15, because that's the day my daughter was born. We chose that
Hmm.
date because it's the day I become a mother officially. So we decided, because I'm not celebrating her birthday that day, it's in the middle of the week, we're going to celebrate it the weekend after. So I said, you know what, why not doing it on her birthday, which, because she was the one who gave me this title of Archimon.
Mhm.
So it's
Very good.
so that's the date of the main book launch, where the book will be available, formally, but they have a pre-sale on May 13th. So you can, the advantage of buying it that date, and the reason why I keep talking about it is because it's going to have a huge discount that day, but only that date. After
Yeah.
that, it will be normal, regular price. So if you like a good deal, make sure you buy it on May 13th.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. I love that. I love the timing. This is a great setup. I love the
Yeah.
reason behind that. All right. Well, thank you for being with us, and thank you to everyone in the audience for all your questions and comments and support of these topics this week. As we look forward in Context and Clarity live world, let's see. Next week we will have Eitan Tosfati. I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize.
Yeah, pretty sure you
The
did.
I'm pretty sure I'll have
The
it
story
nailed
of
by
my
next
life.
week.
You got some time to practice that one.
Yeah, little bit of time. Uh, Eitan is the founder of Swap, SWAPP. Um, this one is going to is going to be challenging for some folks I know already in advance. So look forward to this conversation next week. Again, Gloria, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate you
having
being
me. I
here.
love the comments in Spanish in the chat. I'm reading them all. Muchas gracias.
There you go. It's great, and thank you to all of you for showing up and posting your comments in Spanish. That's fantastic. We do have a worldwide community here, so it's fun to be able to have the different languages and everything else. So thank you for that. Um, my hope is that all of you will be well and stay safe and keep those around you safe and well. Also, take a little bit of time to breathe and relax, find a way to rejuvenate. We do this every day, right? It's a lot. You need to take care of yourself and your energy and just prepare yourself. So thank you for all of this. Take care of yourself. I appreciate all of you, and I hope that we'll see you somewhere sometime soon. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thanks so much.